Primal Chaos.
Hey guys, Primal Chaos here. Welcome to the channel. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Enchroma Glasses. Enchroma makes corrective lenses and glasses for people with all kinds of color deficiencies. So if you're colorblind or you know someone who is, check out their website. And if you use the code CHAOS in checkout, CHAOS, you'll get 10% off. Tell them Primal Chaos at you. Rush. Rush is one of those bands that it always makes me feel a little bit uneasy calling myself a fan of music in general, or just a general music fan, when I don't know bands, you know, the nature of which are as big and influential as Rush. I've got a lot of these. I want to go through and I want to try and pinpoint a lot of times in my music formative years where I zigged when I should have zagged, and I missed out on some of these amazing influential artists that had some of the greatest songs of all time that I'm just not familiar with. And I feel embarrassed to say that. You know, I mean, I know the shadow of Rush. I know that how much it covers of the landscape. I know how many people are influenced by Rush. I know people call them the best in the world and purveyors of just, innovators of prog music. I've heard people say Geddy Lee is the best bass player who's ever lived. I've heard people talk about Neil Peart. But I could probably name 3 songs, but I wouldn't have heard them. And it's really embarrassing, right? Especially someone who comes on here and talks about music as if I know a thing or two, right? Which is still open for debate. But, it's just a real big misstep on my part. So let's check it out. Here we go. Tom Sawyer. Oh, wow. We got synths right up top.
A Monday warrior, mean stride.
Okay.
Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
It's a nice little groove, too.
Though his mind is not for rent, don't put him down as arrogant. His reserve a quiet defense, writing out the day's events.
Wow. Okay, I know this is going to annoy people. I'm going to have to stop a lot on this one. But that's really interesting. Okay, so far there's just so much stuff jumping out of the screen at me. So first of all, Geddy's voice, he doesn't have what I'd consider to be a classic rock voice, at least not yet anyway. He's got sort of like that high, sort of more nasally kind of thing that I would attribute more to, it's a little bit Aussie, you know what I mean? But not quite as sort of, Ozzy's voice was kind of more nasal. Geddy's voice seems a little bit cleaner, but it's cutting, right? And it just fits nicely in the mix. It kind of reminds me more of like a singer from the 60s rather than a rock singer. And that's an interesting thing because it brings me to my next point. I'm looking around some of the instruments and I'm seeing influence from maybe the Beatles era. You got a Rickenbacker bass, for example, things like that, which I mean, I know that they were a massive instrument around that time, but I wonder if maybe because this song is from, I think, 79 or something. Could it be that maybe Rush were a little bit influenced by the Beatles, more experimental psychedelic era stuff, and that's why, prog sort of stuff came out of it? Anyway, we'll find out. But man, I love Neil's drum sound. It's just really tight and cutting, but it's got that long 80s, early 80s, late 70s snare reverb, which I'm a huge fan of. I think drums that sort of sound like they're in another room always sound really good. So anyway, let's keep going. I'll jump back a little bit. And we'll jump. Oh, great voice. So we got organ pedals. There we go. Oh, wow. That riff is cool, man.
gets high on you, and the space he invades, he gets by on you.
Oh, nice. Nice. I like how everyone's jumping on that too. Now that I've said all that about the Beatles, I'm hearing like a lot of Led Zeppelin in here now, right? Like the polyrhythm sort of things they got going on here, but also Geddy's voice is making a little bit more sense in that context as well. So this is cool. You know, I'm trying to, it must sound weird to long-term fans because I'm discovering things as I go along and I'm probably completely wrong, but I'm having these little epiphanies as I'm watching and listening. That little polyrhythm part, I'm trying to count that, but it's, you know, I'm terrible. Anyone who knows the channel knows I'm terrible at counting. Sometimes I luck out and I just fall into like, that's a 5/4, you know, whatever. But there's something to that riff, which is really interesting. I'm going to go back and go over that again. Just little things there that are just cool. Like I noticed the synth is just playing between the two chords and then it jumps in on that melody as well. It starts out with that melody and then the guitar jumps in. Bass. Wow, cool solo. Oh, the psychedelica is just rich, right? Hang on, I got to jump back and show that again because it's funny. The start of that guitar solo sounded like it was recorded in reverse. It had that kind of, it's got a little bit of a Hendrixy vibe to it where it's a little bit psychedelic and it almost sounds like maybe they tracked a guitar solo and then they played in reverse and then the guitar player, is that Alex Lifeson? Is that who that is? I'm not sure. Then they and then he learned how to play it the right way around. Like it's just, hang on, a bit further. You know what I mean? It's his phrasing is just so off kilter that it sounds like it's backwards, you know? Interesting. And then he's doing a lot of the pinch harmonics and stuff, but that's interesting in and of itself because that was something massive that happened in the 80s more so than anything, where you would have high gain amplifiers and you have that pinch harmonics where you sorry about the noise, you tend to pluck the string but you also deaden the string at the same time. So if I'm plucking the string it sounds like that, but if I deaden the string right after I pick it, you get a harmonic instead. And he's doing a lot of bending around harmonics, but if you don't have a nice high gain sound, like say I'll go to a drive sound, it's a little bit harder to get those harmonics. And I know back in the 70s, they didn't have the high gain, high rectifier sort of the sounds that allow that sort of that ability. And so it's interesting hearing a guitarist from the late 70s experimenting with a technique that hadn't really come to its full fruition yet because the amplification just didn't really exist. You can do pinch harmonics on an acoustic guitar, but they don't ring out and they don't have that sort of chimey sort of fullness and richness that sustains that you do if you've got a really high gain amplifier. Let's listen to that again and I'll point out what I'm talking about. He's doing a great job, but man, listen to Geddy, man. Wow.
No, his mind is not for rent to any god or government. Always hopeful yet discontent. Those changes aren't permanent. Oh, changes.
That's just straight up Dream Theater.
Say about his company is what you say about society. Catch the witness, catch the wit, catch the spirit, catch the spit.
It's so embarrassing it's taken me this long. Man, okay, so I get it now, right? I mean, I don't get it. We as a Rush fan watching this, you know I don't get it. But just through that transition there and then where it sort of dies down and the bass comes in, it's straight up Dream Theater. And I mean, obviously, in the recesses of my mind, I can imagine hearing in an interview at some point in my life, I can remember hearing like them talking about how Rush is probably an influence. But I had no idea to what degree, right? Like there's so much going. It's funny, like I've related these guys to bands that possibly influenced them, you know, like Led Zeppelin and just to somewhat of a degree the Beatles. But now I'm like, okay, you listen to Geddy's vocals and it's not far off James LaBrie, right? When James I think has technically a lower voice, but he's always up there, yeah, sort of part of his voice to try and emulate something high like this, and without putting too much grit on it. Like, you know, you listen to Symphony X and there's a lot of grit in the vocals. It's similar sort of timbre and pitch, but you know, there's a lot more aggression. Whereas James LaBrie tends to keep it a lot cleaner for the most part, you know. And I'm wondering if they're just doing, like, maybe when it comes to time to make a choice in the studio, it's like, would Rush do it? No, then we're not going to do it. You know, anyway, man, these guys, wow. This is one song from their catalog and already there's just so much influence there in both directions historically.
Catch the witness, catch the wit, catch the spirit, catch the spit. The world is love and life are deep. Maybe as his eyes are wide.
Interesting. Cool.
Exit the warrior, today's Tom Sawyer. He gets high on you and the energy you trade. He gets right on to the friction of the day.
A little bit of a callback to earlier. That's very cool. Dude. Okay, you got me. I'm into Rush now. I'm a Rush guy. You'll see me wearing Rush t-shirts pretty soon. Oh my God. I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to understand what the big deal is. You know, it's interesting when I think about big prog bands, you know, from the last sort of 20 or 30 years, I can hear so much influence that even I'm extrapolating out from listening to this song. I'm extrapolating out from that what Rush sounds like, and they strike me as possibly being one of those bands that they don't stray too far outside of their sound. Like I'm sure they had albums that were more experimental than others, but I feel like you'd put it on and you'd go, well, that's definitely Rush, right? And so from that one song, I'm kind of extrapolating out, what the rest of their catalog probably sounds like. And I can just feel that the vibrations of that just resonating out historically through time to current prog innovators. And I mean, there aren't that many that I'm aware of young, they're all dudes in their 40s and late 30s and older. But man, like, the crazy accenting that Neil Peart does, you can hear that in the way Danny Carey plays, it's much more expressive. It's not just keeping a beat. It's like, let's see if we can mix this up a little bit and add tension and pushing and pulling through the drum rhythm. And that gives the instrumentalist something to bounce off as far as feel goes, right? So they can play to a feel now rather than just playing locked into a 4/4 click. There's some stuff there with experimental time signatures and also when they're playing that repetitive riff, it sounds like they're all in unison, but then Geddy's playing a harmony part and things like that. Like they're really creative, like, and just super colorful. I don't know about I didn't follow along with the lyrics. I might have to read the lyrics and stuff like that to see if it actually means anything. In fact, give me a second. I'm going to do that right now. Right. So I'm just looking through the lyrics now, and it seems to be sort of like allegorical to, I mean, obviously the story of Tom Sawyer, which is kind of like a core pivotal Americana style, allegory for just the American way of freedom and free thinking and that sense of adventure and pioneering spirit. And so it seems what Geddy's getting at here is like the modern day warrior, today's Tom Sawyer, Mean Pride. So he's sort of like taking that sort of American spirit concept and he's putting it into a modern day 1979 kind of thing. And I think it's probably a little bit to do with, that hippie attitude of like, what does it say? He doesn't notice something about, don't put him down as arrogant. He's reserve a quiet defense. So pacifism. There's something here about, no, his mind is not for rent to any god or government. He's a free thinker. He's a free spirit. Today's Tom Sawyer is somebody who thinks for themselves critically and makes up their own mind and works outside the status quo, I suppose, and that is kind of what the hippie movement was. And the funny thing was, as I was watching the video, part of what stood out to me as far as like the cadence of Geddy's singing and stuff like that in certain verses, it reminded me more of beat poetry than a singer trying to write a melody over some music, right? It's got that sort of pacing of almost like a rap. But yeah, more like a 70s beat poet, trying to write sort of conversations about protest and about free thinking and loving, that whole concept of hippieism would have, I mean, obviously it would have been coming to an end at this point, but I mean, I can see, I don't know how old were these guys at this point. They could have been heavily influenced by the late 60s. I mean, this was the late 70s. It was 10 years earlier. So that concept of freedom and free thinking and all of that would have still been hanging heavy in the air at that point. Maybe people had sort of cut their hair and moved on and become a little bit more corporate minded, but they took with them those ideals of, of a free America. And so maybe that's what this is about. Maybe it's about that. It might be that conversation of like, today's Tom Sawyer, today's warrior is somebody who goes in with an open mind and doesn't play along with, in lockstep with society, and I think that's really cool. It's rebellious. It's a little bit punk, to be perfectly honest. And I'm here for that for sure. Oh, yeah. So look, honestly, this was a great song and I think it was a great introduction to Rush. I'd love to hear your guys' comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. You know, because like typically these reaction videos attract a core audience of people who love those artists. And I'd love to hear from you guys where I should go next. What's another great example of Rush? Based on what I've said throughout this, tell me if I'm right or wrong. I'd love to know that as well, if I missed the mark on anything, because that's how I learn. I'm here to learn from you guys. That's the beauty of this channel. It's not about me telling you what is what. It's about you guys telling me what to look at and where to go. I'm here to learn. So without you guys, that doesn't happen. So hit me up in the comments. I'm really keen to hear more about Rush and, you know, side projects, anything like that, to be honest. Yeah, that's about all I got to say. If you feel like I've brightened your day at all, feel free to support the channel just by buying me a coffee. I'll leave a link in the description, or you can just hit the thanks button underneath the video. It's YouTube's way of allowing you to support creators from within the app. And, you know, if you're new here, if it's your first time, hit like and hit subscribe, and hit the bell, just so you can pick up anytime anything else comes up on the channel. Really appreciate you guys. Doesn't work without you guys helping me along on the journey. So thanks again. I am probably going to move on and find some other areas that I'm a bit of a gray area for me in the meantime. But thanks again, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Hey guys, this video is made possible by Enchroma. 1 in 6 guys and 1 in 200 women are colorblind, and if that happens to be you, there's something you can do about it. Click the link in the description, it'll take you to Enchroma's website where you can get a free eye test, and while you're there, maybe pick up some corrective lenses. They've got styles to suit everybody and a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you got really nothing to lose. And while you're there, use the code CHAOS in checkout to get 10% off. Tell them Primal Chaos sent you.